A special Unite IE bulletin. The San Bernardino Sheriff's Office has been rocked by lawsuits and potential upcoming lawsuits, ranging from investigations into prisoner abuse, possible false arrests in a shooting, to a dispute over a concealed carry permit. And the Unite IE conference that you've been hearing about all week long and all month long is underway with keynote speakers Dinesh D'Souza and Ann Coulter. Dinesh D'Souza is speaking this afternoon, so come on down to the Fox Performing Arts Center in Riverside. You can still get general admission tickets to hear Dinesh D'Souza and join in the fun.
What difference at this point does it make?
Oh, shut up.
If you've got health insurance, you can keep it. You like your health care plan, you will keep your plan.
If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcome back to the Unite Inland Empire radio program. You know, if you're one of the many people out there that doesn't like what you see happening in the state or your country, or if you're wondering whatever happened to that thing called the Constitution, and you're in the right place, don't change the dial. We're here visiting with Deputy Sheriff Paul Schrader, who's a candidate for the position of County of San Bernardino Sheriff. And we're going to learn a little bit more about just what a constitutional sheriff does. Greg, you want to...
We hear that phrase many times. People run as a constitutional sheriff. What does that mean?
Well, that means to, first of all, you know, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution. So first of all, we have to have an agreement there that I've taken an oath of office, even as a deputy sheriff, to say that I will uphold the Constitution. And that is exactly what it means. And I'm also an oath keeper. And if there are laws or orders given that are contradictory to the Constitution, we should refuse to obey those orders. What's it mean to be a constitutional sheriff? Very simple. I will interpose as your sheriff between the federal government and the citizens of this county. If for some reason the federal government decided today that they were going to violate the Second Amendment and come in and start taking citizens' weapons away, as your sheriff, I would interpose between the federal government and you and my deputies, my posse, my militia. We would stand in the gap. And hopefully we would be able to do this either through legal means or, through some kind of mediation. But they're not just going to come in here and start taking people's weapons. So that's one thing, as a, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty and to the, I like to go there first just to let you know. But this happened in New Orleans.
But theoretically, aren't all police officers sworn, and shouldn't they all uphold the Constitution?
Well, so should the president.
Oh, absolutely. But they don't. I mean, I'm not a constitutional attorney, like the president. But I do understand the Second Amendment. Yes, sir.
Well, this was a situation out in Nevada with the Bundy Ranch. And there was a lot of criticism of the sheriff there because he could have actually played a role there that would have limited the escalation or de-escalate the situation by inserting himself there and kind of being a buffer between the BLM and the people who were supporting Bundy.
Yeah, I agree, John, and I was asked questions about that. In fact, Sheriff Mack, who is the founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, who has also endorsed me. He's a mentor of mine. He asked me to go out there to Bundy Ranch, but I couldn't at the time because of the election going on, of course. But if that happened here in this county, let's say the same situation, I would be out there and I would have my deputies out there. First of all, we need to make sure that he does have a court order and that they did have a court order and what was it specifically for. If the sheriff would have been out there, those people wouldn't have got beat up, run over by vehicles, dogs sicked on him, tased. Mr. Bundy's equipment was torn up. His animals were killed. We could have, and also if Mr. Bundy had a restraining order, there would have been no way anyone from BLM would have came onto his land as long as I was sheriff. So, there's a lot of things the sheriff could have done. He didn't. And that's why you need constitutional sheriffs. We've got them here in the state of California, Joe D'Agostini, Gene Wilson, Mr. Lopi up in Siskiyou County. It's just you don't hear much about them.
Does constitutional sheriff also involve protecting Second Amendment rights in terms of CCW permits?
Absolutely. There's a lawsuit right now against our current sheriff due to the fact that he's not upholding his Second Amendment, upholding Second Amendment rights. Jonathan Birdt, just filed a federal lawsuit against the sheriff for failing to issue because the sheriff is not following the Ninth Circuit's agreement, saying that really you don't have to have a reason to get that CCW, carry concealed weapon permit. When I'm elected, as long as you're not mentally ill and you're not a felon, I want you to come down and get your carry concealed weapon permit. I mean, you're going to meet the criteria. I really wish we were just a shall issue, and I want to make it as close to shall issue as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'll follow the state law, but when it looks like it's impeding or stepping on the Second Amendment, I won't follow anything of that nature.
Now, what does it mean to be a shall issue for someone who's not familiar with that?
May issue versus shall. California's a may issue state, right?
Yeah, and it gives the sheriffs of the county the decision making of, do they really want to issue? I mean, you see some counties, they have 100, 500, issued, and in our county we have 2,500 for, a couple million people. We're considered liberal on handing them out, but, Cal Gun said in 2013 we had issued about 430. The official report from the sheriff's department was over 700. I have to lean to what's going on with Cal Guns saying it, because they have no bias in this. They're not trying to get elected, and the sheriff right now is the appointed sheriff. He was selected, not elected. He's trying to get elected, and he's trying to run off of a Second Amendment platform. And again, why would a guy that's a Second Amendment run on a Second Amendment platform have to be sued over a carry concealed weapon permit due to the fact he's not following the law?
It's not just the sheriff. I mean, the taxpayers are on the hook for their own attorney fees for the county, and then if there's any settlement or judgment, they're on the hook for that as well.
Last night I heard this politician talking about his brand new mission. Liked his plans, but they came undone when it got around to God and guns. I don't know how he grew up, but it sure wasn't down at the hunting club. 'Cause if it was, he'd understand just a little bit more about the working man. God and guns keep us strong. That's what this country was founded on. Well, we might as well give up and run if we let them take our God and guns. Yeah, out here in my neck of the woods where God is great and guns are good, you really can't know that much about them if you think we're better off without them. Oh, there was a time we ain't forgot. You could rest all night with your doors unlocked, but there ain't nobody safe no more. So you say your prayers and you thank the Lord for that peacemaker in the dresser drawer. God and guns keep us strong. That's what this
You've been briefing us about some of the problems plaguing the current administration for San Bernardino County, and there's some lawsuits that are pending, investigations with the jails, I believe. So why don't you brief us a little bit on those?
Well, the one that just came out was basically the FBI started an investigation into abuse within the jails, and some of it was physical and mental, and they even said they were tortured. What we really need to look at is when they have these lawsuits going on in jail, we should have had some stops in place already that if we would have had cameras on the deputies in the jail, and I think they had either 8 or 9 people that were involved in this, something would have picked this, what they were doing up. Even if they tampered with their cameras, we would, that would be a policy violation. They would be in trouble for that.
But from what I read, I mean, this is 8 or 9 people over a 14-month period, and the sheriff himself said it was, this is an isolated incident. But how do you have an isolated incident involving 8 people over a 14-month, over a year?
Well, and that's what I'm saying, John. I feel that the leadership has eroded, and we really don't have what's needed in the role of sheriff. If the sheriff had taken an active interest in what was going on in jails, make sure that the jail supervision is in place and doing what they're supposed to be doing, but to have that second set of eyes, to have those cameras. I mean, I've been looking at this for the last 4 years, and then when Rialto PD put those on their officers, and it cut complaints by 85% and use of force by about 80%. That's where you get your lawsuits at. And you know what it's either going to do, there's 3 things. It's either going to cut frivolous lawsuits, which there's a lot of those. We pay out a lot of money in frivolous lawsuits and settlements in San Bernardino County. It could be a training issue where a deputy just needs to change the course of action. It costs too much to hire deputies and just to fire them for having some training issues where we can bring them back in line. Third, if we have a deputy that's committing criminal acts, then what we will do is we will go after them and we will take them to court and do the best thing we can do is put them in jail.
So it protects the taxpayers, the department, and the deputies.
Absolutely. Again, as a constitutional sheriff, I want to make sure that your rights are being protected. And
you mentioned a case where personally involving the current sheriff, where he was involved and resulted in a large settlement. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, the Travis Bauer case, very simple. The deputy sheriff wanted to take Family Medical Leave Act off to take care of his mother, who had a stroke. He was the sole caregiver. His captain said, no, I'd rather for you to put her in a home. And he says, I'm not putting my mother in a home. He takes his time off. While he's off, there is a conspiracy to get rid of him. So when he comes back, and the current sheriff was actually part of the email and part of the notification group of what was going on. So I think at that time he was a deputy chief. Long story short, when the guy came back, they wrote him up for very minor things, like a couple minutes late for briefing, failure to sign some kind of paperwork. They fired him. The deputy sued. Travis Bauer sued them, and prior to them going to court, they settled for nearly $1 million. And if he gets paid nearly $1 million, his attorney's going to get paid $1 million. So $2 million, and the sheriff was personally involved in this. And if he would have been a leader, he would have done the right thing and said, we made a mistake here. I've relooked at the case, and I think we need to just bring him back. And I feel so sorry for, his mother was put through this. They tried to violate HIPAA through this. They were, questioning the doctors. They were calling her up, wanting to know if she was really sick. There's all kind of harassment, and you can see it in the emails. I've read the case, and you look at it and you're going, what are you guys doing? You're spending my money here. You're spending the taxpayers' money. You need to be out, doing your job as a deputy sheriff or as a sheriff or whatever your position is, instead of doing stuff like this, which is ridiculous.
Well, Paul, we're down to our last few minutes here of this segment. So what will you do different? I mean, what do you bring to the office, and how will you handle things different?
Well, what you do is it's making common sense decisions here. And that's what I bring to the office. It's really, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this job. Really don't. It's common sense decisions, bringing good people with you to the table, and doing things that's right. To fire a deputy for failing to
turn his phone off.
Yes, exactly. That's just, I thought my phone was turned off, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So anyway, want to take care of his mom. I mean, come on, this is so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my 31 years of experience. I've owned also 3 businesses. My last was a corporation, and I've done this in my part-time. It was a multi-million-dollar corporation. I sold it. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to budgets, when it comes to risk analysis, I was a supervisor in a risk analysis team. Budgets, I saved Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department $70 million. My team and me were able to find $70 million that we could cut from the budget.
Wow.
This was several years ago. And things like that. We really need to take a good look at how we're spending the money. But what I'm going to bring with me is going to be professionalism. Level of decorum is going to be back up. We're not going to have people being fired for frivolous things. We're spending too much money to bring deputies here. And if there's a training issue, I want to address that. If not, we can do other things. But yes.
Yeah, I heard you speak before, and you mentioned the importance of returning to basically like a community-based policing, which has somewhat been lost.
Yeah, the sometimes community-based policing has a bad taste in a mouth for some people, but really it's just like, kind of the old Andy Griffith show. You know what? That to me is what kind of, we have gangs and we have all of the high crime and stuff, but really when it gets down to it, it's personal between people and their local peace officers where, hey, you know what? I could come into your business. You would feel comfortable with giving me some information about something going on, where now some places they won't, it's them and us, and that should never be the case. And I want to bring that back to the county here.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you, Paul. Good luck in the June 3rd primary, and appreciate you sharing with folks exactly what's going on out there.
And if you want to hear more from me, go to sheriffpaul2014.com.
Excellent. Folks, we're up against a hard break. We will be right back with lots more after this break from our commercial sponsors.
I'll keep my freedom. I'll keep my guns. Try to keep my money and my religion too. Try to keep on working. Try to keep on smiling. I will keep my Christian name and y'all can keep the change. I'll keep my heroes, pictures on